and that this liquidity token has a market price. So here we are on Uniswap. I've selected Scarcity and ETH, and currently one Scarcity is worth about 0.1 ETH. And we'll find Scarcity will be trading on various pairs and various exchanges and so on. So LP tokens are often treated as a kind of endpoint for traditional AMMs, whereas for Behodler we're going to use it as a universal beacon that will draw value towards the exchange. Okay, so adding liquidity to Behodler mints Scarcity. What should be noted is that because Scarcity is minted along a bonding curve, the price of Scarcity increases when liquidity is added to Behodler, the marginal price of Scarcity. So it's not that the Scarcity you get back represents an equal share of the tokens that you've just added, but instead, because they represent a kind of a marginal value of liquidity, with every token addition the price of Scarcity is going to increase. So one of the implications of that is that if the price of Scarcity were to increase outside of Behodler, like suppose we had Scarcity trading on Uniswap and the price increases on Uniswap for whatever reason, this creates an arbitrage opportunity between Behodler and Uniswap. It means that if we can push up the price of Scarcity on Behodler, we can sell that on, or rather, if we can purchase Scarcity on Behodler for cheap, we can sell it on Uniswap at an arbitrage profit, and so kind of converge the two prices. And the act of purchasing Scarcity on Behodler, which is by minting liquidity, pushes up the price of Scarcity. So in other words, when the price of Scarcity rises outside of Behodler, it drags liquidity into Behodler. And this is an important point because it creates a simple goal for the ecosystem. Basically, we want the Scarcity price to go up, or we want Scarcity to be minted, or we want demand for Scarcity to go up. We basically just want to pull people into Scarcity in whatever way we can. And in doing so, that'll bring liquidity to the Dapp, to the Behodler AMM, and that comes with a whole bunch of networked economy advantages, and so everyone is happy. So this is going to play a large role in our design of Limbo. But still, I haven't explained Limbo because I need to explain a constraint about Behodler. So if we return to the Uniswap example, so when you create a pair on Uniswap, a new pair, you add liquidity to the pair in proportion to the market prices of those tokens. So for instance, if you created a Uniswap pair of Ether and DAI, and the Ether price is $4,000, then for every ETH that you add to the pool, you need to add 4,000 DAI. And if you don't, arbitrage traders will shoot in and correct the ratio by trading at a profit, and essentially steal a great deal of value from you. So it'll be a sort of an instant impermanent loss situation that you'll experience. So this is why the Uniswap front end takes great pains to make sure that you have to add liquidity in proportion to the existing market price when you do add liquidity. That's not actually enforced on a contract level, so if you go under the hood, you can send whatever ratio of liquidity you want to a Uniswap pair and mint LP tokens, but you'll notice that immediately upon doing so, a miner bot will seize upon that difference in value and steal some money from you. So you don't want to do that. So let's expand that now before getting to Behodler. Let's expand that concept to an AMM that has more than 2 tokens. So let's go to Balancer, where we've got let's make a Balancer pool where we have 2 tokens to start with, but we can potentially add an additional token to the pair to create a triplet of tokens. So we start off with a Balancer pool of, we'll start off with ETH and DAI again, and we'll say that the price of ETH is $4,000, so that whatever liquidity of ETH and DAI we have in the Balancer pool, it must be in that ratio of 4,000 to 1. Now, let's assume that we have 10 in this pool, which means that we have to have, of course, 40,000 DAI in the pool. And now let's expand the pool to include a third token. So let's take Link. We want to include Link in this pool, and let's assume that the price is $10 for simplicity. So that means that in order for the price to be correct, whatever liquidity of Link we add to the pool, it has to be in a ratio such that for every 10 DAI there's 1 Link, and for every 400 Link there's 1 F. So we said in this pool that there would be 10 F, and that means that there's 40,000 DAI, which means we are forced to add 4,000 Link to the pool. And the reason I say forced is because that sort of compulsion goes against what we are used to with token pairs. So generally, when we create pairs in Uniswap, we can bring however much liquidity we want. The problem is that when you have an exchange that has existing tokens on it, or when you have an AMM, or at least a contract pool that has existing tokens on it, and they have existing reserves, you don't only have to bring your token in the correct ratio, you have to bring the same dollar value of your token to the pool. So another way of understanding it is, instead of thinking about ratio of prices, calculate the dollar value of every token within a pool. They have to be equal across the board in order for the pool to be at rest in equilibrium. So when you have 1 ETH and 4,000 DAI, you've got $4,000 worth of DAI, and you've got $4,000 worth of ETH. When you've got 10 ETH and 40,000 DAI, you've got, of course, $40,000 of DAI and $40,000 of ETH. And if Link is worth $10, the way we get $40,000 worth of Link is to add 4,000 Link. Right, so that's the kind of AMM arithmetic that you've got to keep in mind. So here's the challenge with Behodler. Behodler, we didn't start it by listing all of the tokens that we're ever going to list on Behodler, because that doesn't make sense. There's some tokens become stale, and other tokens pop up years down the line that we want to list, and so on. So we want to keep it dynamic. We want to keep tokens coming and going to Behodler, preferably joining more than leaving. But what this means is that in the interim there'll be existing liquidity on Behodler. Now, if Behodler becomes increasingly popular, even if it becomes sort of middle of the road popular amongst the AMMs, the average dollar value of reserve liquidity on Behodler is going to become enormously high. So if you take your traditional AMMs, I mean, if you take a DAI ETH pool on Uniswap, I don't have the numbers on me right here, but I'd imagine it's in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, that each token possesses in that pool. Maybe it's in the billions, I don't know. But I know that it's a lot more than the average person can supply. So if we follow the traditional route that Uniswap followed, where anyone can just kind of list a token as they go, it kind of falls apart with a universal pool of liquidity situation like we have with Behodler. As Behodler becomes more popular, fewer and fewer people can list a token. So from basic economics about collective action, we know that one of the solutions to this problem is crowdfunding, and the internet has a nice long history in crowdfunding, and of course setting up a crowdfunding kind of situation in Ethereum is almost trivial. So the solution that we're going with is to create a crowdfunding DApp for listing new tokens on Behodler. But the DApp will be structured in such a way that the experience for the user will be very similar to traditional liquidity mining. So you'll stake a token, and you will earn a yield on that token in a reward token, and there will be one universal reward token for the entire DApp. So imagine, like, if you're familiar with staking on Sushi, or on Sushi's onsen, or anything like that, it's that experience, right? Or I guess harvest.finance